The wind screamed outside like a beast in pain. Snow fell heavy on the crashed alien pod, half buried under a layer of ice and dirt. The wreck was still smoking in places, metal twisted like melted bones. Inside the broken shell of the pod, a girl sat curled tight, hugging her knees to her chest. Her thin arms were trembling, her blue skin pale and cracked. Her dark purple eyes stared at nothing. Her name was Tara. She had not moved in hours. She was too weak. Her ship had gone down the night before. Everyone else, gone. The fire had taken them. She had crawled from the wreckage and dragged herself into this broken pod to escape the cold. But the cold had followed her in. Her teeth clacked together as her body tried to fight the freezing air. Her people weren't made for this kind of cold. She could already feel her body shutting down. Her fingers had turned stiff. Her breath came slow. Then dash thud. A sound outside. Her body jerked. Her heart thumped. Crunch, crunch. Footsteps, slow, heavy. Coming closer, she dragged herself against the wall. Claws out, body shaking harder not, just from cold. Now the door creaked. A beam of white snowlight hit her eyes. A tall figure stepped in. Not one of her own. Not a hunter. Not a soldier. A human. He wore thick black gear, snow sticking to his shoulders, face hidden behind goggles and a scarf. His breath came out in clouds. He stared at her from the doorway. Tara's claws dropped. Her arms fell to her side. She was too tired to fight. The man said nothing. He stepped inside slowly, careful, like someone who didn't want to scare a wild animal. Then he dropped his bag and knelt by the small broken heater she had tried to repair earlier. He opened it, pulled out some kind of tool, and made adjustments. A few clicks, then a spark. A hum. A weak, warm light. The heater was alive again. Tara's eyes widened. Her breathing hitched. He looked at her and said just 2 words, in that deep, strange human voice. Stay warm. He pulled off his goggles. His face was pale but kind. His eyes were calm. He opened a food packet and pushed it across the floor, toward her. He didn't come closer. She didn't move. Eat, he said. You'll die if you don't. His voice wasn't cruel, just honest. She stared at the food packet. Her stomach twisted in hunger, but fear held her still. What if it was poison? What if this was a trap? Then her body gave the answer for her. Her stomach growled loud. She reached out slowly, took the packet, and bit into the soft square. Warmth spread across her tongue. It was simple human ration food, but to her, it tasted like life. She looked at the human again. He was sitting cross-legged near the door, his back against the cold wall. He wasn't watching her like a threat. He looked tired, like he'd been walking for days. She tried to speak in her language. He didn't respond. Of course, no translator. Just guessing, so they sat in silence. Her on one side of the room, him on the other. Between them, the weak heater glowed. Her breathing calmed. Her body stopped shaking a little. Then a sudden gust of wind slammed into the pod from outside. The door banged against the wall. The temperature dropped again. The heater flickered. Tara's body TENSED. The man stood, walked to the door, and pulled it closed tight. He pressed a seal against it. Warmth returned. He looked at her and smiled. She didn't understand why. But that small smile made something stir in her chest. She looked at his bag. It had only one sleeping bag rolled on top of it. He was going to sleep in this cold, on this frozen metal, just to give her a heater. Her people were cold and logical. They didn't show warmth unless needed. But this human, he had done all. This without even knowing her name. Why? Her body swayed. Her eyes blinked slowly. The food helped, But she needed heat. Real heat, or she would not make it till sunrise. Her gaze moved to his sleeping bag, then to him, then to herself. She took a deep breath and pointed at the sleeping bag, then at herself. The human blinked. He didn't understand. She pointed again, then crossed her arms and hugged herself, shaking. Her fingers touched her lips. "Cold," she whispered. The man stayed still for a second. Then his eyes widened. He stood, walked to his bag, and unzipped the sleeping bag. He laid it down near the heater. Then he turned to her. His hand reached out, not touching, just waiting for her to choose. Tara stared at him. Then she moved, crawled over slowly, and together, without a single word spoken, they slid into the sleeping bag, backdash to dash back. No fear, just shared warmth, just survival, and something new beginning. Asterisk, the sleeping bag was too small for two, but they both stayed still, neither speaking, breathing in silence. Tara felt the humans, warmth like sunlight on her skin. Her body, once shaking and numb, now slowly started to relax. Her back touched his. His heat spread through the thick cloth into her bones. For the first time in hours, she didn't feel like she was dying, but she didn't feel safe either. Her people didn't believe in sharing space like this, not even with friends. Sleeping beside another, especially one from another species, was strange. Wrong, yet she had asked for it, and he hadn't said no. She turned her head slightly. She could feel his chest rise and fall, steady, strong, calm, not afraid of her. But why? Didn't he fear she'd scratch him? Bite him? Her claws were still sharp, her fangs even sharper. But he had zipped the bag halfway and let her crawl in first, then carefully slid in behind her, leaving space between them. He was careful, gentle, and dazed, and strangely quiet for a human. Back on her ship, Tara had seen humans only from a distance. Some were loud, others cruel. All were unpredictable, but this one, he gave her space, warmth, food, and now, safety. She didn't understand it, and yet her eyes started to close on their own. Sleep came heavy and slow. She wanted to fight it, but her body needed it more than she wanted answers. Before darkness pulled her away, she whispered softly in her own language, "Don't leave." She didn't know if he heard. Cole did hear her. He didn't know what the alien girl had said, but her voice had softened. He could feel the tension leaving her back. Her breathing slowed. He stared at the pod's broken ceiling, lit dim by the flickering heater. This wasn't how today was supposed to go. He'd been sent on a basic recon check, a crashed alien ship. Flagged 2 days ago. Low priority. Just check for signs of tech or survivors. Take pictures, leave. He didn't expect to find anyone alive, let alone a freezing alien girl who looked half his size and twice as scared. She was young, maybe a bit older than a human teenager. Skin like ice-kissed silver, hair long and dark like river moss, and big purple eyes that had stared into his like they were looking for hope. She didn't try to fight. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She just sat there, shivering. He had seen that look before in refugee camps. In the eyes of soldiers after a bad mission, it was the look of someone who had lost everything. He couldn't leave her behind, even if the regs said otherwise. He glanced down at the small space between them. She hadn't moved since falling asleep. Her body was curled slightly, tail tucked under her knees, hands resting under her chin. He didn't know her name, didn't know what species she was, didn't know if she would still trust him come morning, but he knew one thing: she would not die. Tonight, not on his watch. Hours passed. Sometime in the night, she rolled over half asleep, pressed her forehead against his back. Cole stiffened for a moment, but then stayed still. Her breath was warm. Soft, her hand rested lightly on the fabric of his jacket. Then she whispered something. One word. Warm. Cole smiled. Morning light tried to break through the snowy clouds. The wind outside had calmed, but inside, frost still clung to the walls. Cole stirred first. He slowly sat up, careful not to wake her. The sleeping bag shifted. Her arms had curled around him like a blanket. She opened her eyes, slowly blinked, then looked up. They stared at each other. She didn't move away. Instead, she said in broken English, voice soft, "You, ... Not cold." He chuckled. Not anymore. She blinked, confused. Why help? Cole rubbed the back of his neck. Because you were freezing. Because you were alone. She tilted her head. Many would leave. I'm not many. She looked down, then nodded slowly. Then she said, more clearly this time, Tara. Name is Tara. Cole gave a short smile. Cole, he replied. Nice to meet you, Tara. She repeated his name carefully. Cole. Then softly, thank you, Cole. For a moment, neither of them said anything else. Then the heater sputtered. The flickering light dimmed. Tara's ears twitched. Her eyes darted to the pod's cracks. Storm. Not done, she said. Cole unzipped the sleeping bag, pulling on his gear. Then we wait another day. You rest. I'll keep watch. She hesitated, then pointed to the bag again. We share again. He looked at her. You sure? She gave a small nod, and without a word more, she crawled back inside. This time, she waited for him to join. A second night was different. Still cold, still quiet. But this time, not silent. Tara lay inside the sleeping bag before Cole joined. Her purple eyes watched him, waiting. Her breathing was steady, slow. No longer shaking. Cole removed his gloves and boots again, placed his weapon near the heater, and slid in beside her. The bag was warmer now, their bodies heating it faster. The space between them was smaller tonight. Her back pressed against his chest. This time, it wasn't planned. It just happened. No words, no awkwardness, just warmth. And something else, trust. She didn't know what to call this feeling. Her kind weren't raised to trust easily, especially not other species. But Cole hadn't hurt her. He hadn't touched her without asking. He had given her food, fire, safety, and a place to sleep. He had shared his space to her people. This was a sacred gesture. T.E.R.A. closed her eyes, slowly, gently, but her mind didn't stop. She remembered the crash again. They had been traveling to a research outpost near the human zone. Her team was small, 3 scientists, 1 pilot, 1 guard. Nothing dangerous. A peace mission, nothing more. But then the blizzard came. Lightning in the clouds. Something slammed their ship from above. An engine exploded. Flames. Screams. She was the only one who made it out. And when she crawled into the wreckage shelter, she expected to die there until he came. Now his chest was a slow drum behind her. His breath touched her hair. His arm rested close but never touched. She whispered in her language, soft like snow, "You don't even know me. And still, you protect me. Why?" She didn't expect an answer. He didn't understand her words, but somehow her voice didn't need to be understood. Because she felt his chest rise. A slow breath in, and then a word from him, almost like a reply, though he hadn't heard hers. You deserved it. She blinked. She didn't know the human word deserved yet, but something about the way he said it told her it meant something. Kind. Cole stayed awake longer than she did. Her body relaxed fully in sleep. She trusted him. Now he could feel it in the way her breathing softened. in how her tail curled gently. Not tight like the first night. He didn't move. He just stared at the flickering heater light dancing on the metal walls. He remembered his brother, years ago. During the first human-alien conflict, his brother had served on a medical frigate. It was ambushed in orbit. Else were killed. But the report said one alien, just one, had stayed behind to help injured humans escape. That alien died saving Cole's brother. Since then, Cole never saw aliens as other. He saw them as people. Now, one of them was asleep beside him, peacefully. Maybe this was fate's way of giving something back. He didn't know, but he was sure of one thing. She wouldn't freeze. She wouldn't be alone. Not while he was alive. Ra woke once in the night. She didn't open her eyes, but her ears picked up soft sound. Not wind. Not predators. Breathing, talking, human speech. Cole was whispering something. She couldn't understand the words, but she listened anyway. It sounded like a story. A name, he kept saying a name. Jace, and the words, I'm sorry. Then silence. Again. She waited a few moments, then did something she didn't fully understand. She reached back and gently placed her hand over his. Cole didn't speak, but he didn't pull away. Morning came with no storm, just cold air and silver light. Tara sat up first this time. Her body felt sore, but strong. She checked her claws, her skin less pale now, breathing normal. No signs of frostbite. She was healing. She looked at Cole, still asleep, mouth slightly open. His face was tired, but peaceful. She smiled. Strange how quickly he'd gone from stranger to something more. She stood and walked to the cracked door, opening it slightly. Wind brushed her face, but it wasn't biting anymore. In the distance, across white hills, a tiny trail of smoke rose in the sky. Her eyes widened. She turned quickly. Cole, he blinked, stirred. What? She pointed. There's smoke. He crawled up beside her, pulling on his gear. One look at the smoke, and he nodded. That's the outpost. Must be 5 kilometers away. She didn't know kilometers, but she understood the look in his eyes. Hope they were close now, but her heart suddenly felt strange. Because this might mean goodbye, the trail of smoke meant hope. But to Tara, it also meant the end. She stood at the broken door, staring across the icy plain, her eyes fixed on the thin black line in the distance. The wind blew through her hair, but she didn't move. Cole stepped beside her, zipping up his jacket. That's a human camp, he said quietly. We're close now. Tara didn't answer. Her sharp ears twitched. Her fingers curled. Her tail wrapped tight around one leg. She wasn't shivering from cold anymore. She was shivering from fear. Cole didn't understand her silence at first. He thought maybe she didn't hear him. Maybe she was too weak to walk. But then she turned. To him, and he saw her eyes. They weren't tired. They were full. Full of tears, full of pain, full of something deep. She spoke in a soft, shaking voice. If we go, they will take me away from you. Her English was broken, but the message was clear. Cole blinked, surprised. What? No, they won't. You'll be safe there. She stepped back, safe from cold, but not safe from people. I took a breath. They're not all bad. We have doctors. Warm beds, food. She looked away, voice barely a whisper. I had all that before the crash. Warm, safe, full belly. But it meant nothing. Cole's jaw tightened. He wanted to argue, wanted to tell her she was wrong, but he didn't. Instead, he placed his hand gently over his chest. I'm not leaving you. No one's going to hurt you while I'm with you. Her eyes snapped back to him. You promise? He nodded once. I promise. For a long second, neither of them moved. Then she stepped forward and fell into his arms. It wasn't a quick hug. It wasn't awkward or polite. Ra leaned into him like a wave collapsing into shore. Her arms wrapped around his waist, her forehead pressed into his chest. And then she cried, silent at first. Just her shoulders shaking, then louder. A soft, broken sound she hadn't made since the crash. Her voice cracked. Her claws dug into his jacket, not to hurt, but to hold on. Cole didn't speak. He just held her close, resting his chin on her head. He kept one hand on her back, the other on her arm. She cried for her crewmates, for her lost ship, for her home, for the way the cold had almost taken her, for the way she had survived, but only barely, and maybe, just maybe, she cried because someone had finally made her feel safe again. Later that morning, they packed up what little they had: the sleeping bag, a half-used heater, some rations, a flare gun. They stepped out into the snow together. Side by side, Tara had never walked across open ground with a human before. Her bare feet left three-toed prints beside his boots. The wind bit at their faces. But the sky was brighter now, and even though she still feared what waited ahead, she followed him because for once she wasn't walking alone. Halfway to the outpost, a sound pierced the air. Whoosh. A flyer. Cole looked up fast, grabbing Tara's hand. Stay low. They ducked behind a rock. The ship roared overhead, sleek and dark gray. Human military, he cursed. They must have picked up our emergency signal. Tara gripped his arm. Bad. Cole shook his head. Not bad. Just fast. He fired the flare. It popped in the sky, bright red against white clouds. The flyer turned in the distance and circled back. Minutes later, they were surrounded. 4 soldiers in heavy black gear landed beside them, guns raised, helmets on. Tara froze. She knew the look of soldiers. They were the same everywhere: cold, trained, emotionless. One of them aimed at her. What the hell is that? Kay asked Cole. Stepped in front. She's with me. She's armed. No. Dangerous? No more than you or me. The lead soldier narrowed his eyes. Orders were to recover tech, not aliens. She's not a machine, Cole said sharply. She's a survivor. Tara stood behind him, her eyes wide, her claws ready just in case. But the soldiers didn't shoot. They just exchanged glances. Then the leader shrugged. Whatever. You're the scout. You want her in, she's your problem. Cole nodded. She's not a problem. She's under my protection. Tara didn't understand the words, but she understood the stance, the tone, the shield he had become. She whispered, You really mean it? Cole turned and smiled. Told. You? I'm not leaving. They flew back to the outpost. Tyr sat beside him, head against his shoulder, eyes half closed. For the first time since the crash, she didn't fear the future, because now she had someone to face it with. The warmth of the human camp was a lie. Yes, there were heaters. Yes, there were hot meals. Yes, there were beds with real blankets. But Tara could still feel the cold, not the kind that bit skin, the kind that whispered behind doors, the kind that watched from corners, the kind that followed her when the soldiers stared too long or muttered under their breath. She stayed close to Cole. Always, even when they told her to rest, even when they tried to separate them for routine scans. No, she had said. With Cole, and Cole, true to his word, never left her side. It was supposed to be a safe zone until the power failed. It started with a low hum, then a snap. The lights flickered, and half the base went dark. Generators kicked in, but something was wrong. Cole grabbed his gear. "Stay here," he told Tara, but she followed anyway. "You promised," she said. "We stay together." He gave a tired smile. "All right." In the control room, they found panic. The radar tower had gone down. A frozen pipe cracked under the storm, leaking coolant into the main system. Now the perimeter shields were dropping one by one. Cole looked at the screen. Red lights, open sectors. This base won't hold. The officer in charge wiped sweat from his forehead. "We've already called for evac. A ship's inbound. But we need 4 hours. 4 hours with no shields." TEY stepped close to the screen. "What comes in?" Everyone turned to her. Cole answered. "Predators." She had seen them before far out in the wild during her training. Not beasts of fur or teeth, but things made of glass and bone, fast, silent. They hunted by heat and scent. The humans called them mirror snakes. One mirror creature could wipe out a squad. If the shields were down, dozens could come. The officer barked orders. "Evac plan. Pack light. Move fast. If you're not essential, go to the upper decks." Tara heard it in his voice. They weren't. Sure who would make it, Cole turned to her. "We need to move. There's a back trail. It's colder, but it leads straight to the landing zone." She nodded. "We go now." He zipped his jacket. Now, the back trail was narrow. Frozen wind whipped across the cliffs. Ice cracked beneath their boots. The only light came from the sky-dammed blue clouds and a distant sun. They moved fast, just the two of them, but the forest ahead was silent to silent. Tara's ears twitched. Something follows. Cole didn't argue. He raised his rifle and kept her behind him. The first creature came from the trees, a shimmer like air bent by heat. Then to glowing eyes. No sound, just hunger. Cole fired once direct hit. The creature dropped, body vanishing. Into frost, another hissed behind them. TEY spun and threw a rock with surprising strength. It cracked through the mirror's thin body. The beast screeched and scattered. More shadows moved in the trees. They were surrounded. They found a small cave hidden behind a frozen bush. Cole kicked in the ice, dragging Tara inside. It was dark, but defensible. They sat together, backs against the wall. The growls outside faded for now. Tara's breath was quick. "You okay?" Cole looked at a scratch on his arm. "Fine, just a graze." She touched it gently. "You bleed easy." He chuckled. "Yeah, but I don't die easy." Her hands shook as she pressed a cloth against the wound. "I'm not scared of the cold anymore," she whispered. "I'm scared of losing you." He looked at her eyes. "Serious? I'm not going anywhere." The hours passed, slow outside. Shadows moved past the cave. Sometimes they paused, then moved on inside. Tara leaned against Cole. Her body no longer trembled from cold but from everything else. "Why do you stay with me?" she asked softly. "Your people don't trust me." "I don't care what they think," he said. "I know who you are." She looked up. "And who am I?" He smiled faintly. "Someone brave, someone strong, someone who shared her only warmth with a stranger." She blinked. Her lips moved, but no words came. She just pressed her head against his shoulder and whispered, "Then, I stay too." Suddenly, boom. A loud rumble shook the ice outside. A flare lit the sky in green. Cole stood. "That's the evac signal." Tara grabbed her gear. We run. They sprinted through the snow. The creatures gave chase, but the ship's engines roared above, burning bright. Lights scared them back. Cole and Tara reached the landing ramp as the engines warmed up. The captain looked down at her. "Alien." Cole nodded. "She comes with me." A pause, then a nod. Get inside, both of you. As the ship rose from the frozen world, Tara sat beside the window, watching the snow vanish below. Cole sat beside her, and for the first time since her crash, she closed her eyes and let herself dream. The ship hummed quietly as it glided through the stars. Tara sat cross-legged on the floor, her face pressed to the round window. Cold glass met her warm skin. Her eyes followed the distant glow of planets and stations, moving slowly like forgotten dreams. Behind her, Cole stood by the wall, talking to a medical officer. Her vitals are stable, the doctor said. But her kind reacts differently. To stress, she might need rest. Calm surroundings, maybe. Someone familiar. Cole nodded. She's not going anywhere alone. I'll stay. The doctor raised an eyebrow. You sure you want to stay attached? Cole's eyes flicked toward the girl. She saved my life too. That makes us even. Later, they gave her a small room, white walls, a soft bed, a folded blanket that smelled strange. Tara stepped in and stopped. Cole followed. You okay? She didn't answer. She touched the walls, the light switch, the soft edge of the bed. Then she looked at him and said, "Too quiet." He smiled. That's supposed to be a good thing. She walked over to the bed and sat slowly. Her tail flicked once, then wrapped around her leg. Cole watched from the doorway. You should sleep, he said. She didn't lie down. Instead, she said, you leave. His smile faded slightly. I have to report. Just for a few hours. She shook her head slowly. No, don't go. Cole stepped forward. Tara, you're safe now. I'll come back. She looked at him, eyes wide. Safe as not. Here, she touched her chest. Safe is where you are. That night, Cole didn't report. He sat by her bed, leaning against the wall while she curled into the blanket. She didn't fall asleep right away. She kept looking at him, blinking. Slowly, as if afraid he would vanish when her eyes closed, so he stayed. Talking softly about Earth, about his dog back home, about silly food, things like peanut butter and toast. TEY Ra didn't understand everything, but she listened. And then, when she did finally fall asleep, her last words were, "You smell like." Home the next morning, chaos returned. The transport ship docked at a major orbital station. Lights blazed, voices echoed. Uniforms everywhere. Cole and Tara stepped into a long hallway. Soldiers glanced at her. Scientists whispered. Some pointed. Tara's body tensed. Her claws flexed. Cole noticed and walked closer. Ignore them. She nodded but didn't relax. Her eyes scanned every corridor, every unknown face. They led them into a cold meeting room. One long table. 3 humans waiting. The woman at the center spoke first. Scout Cole. This is an informal hearing. We need clarity about the alien. Tara didn't like the way she said that word. Cole sat straight. Her name is Tara. One of the officers raised an eyebrow. She has no citizenship, no ID, no translator. She saved my life. She helped us survive a predator zone. She's not a threat. The lead woman leaned forward. No one is saying she's a threat, but Cole cut in. She has a name. Use it. The room fell silent. TEY Ra watched him carefully, quietly. She didn't know what all the words meant, but she understood something deeper. He was fighting for her. Again, later, they walked down a quieter hallway. Cole's face was tight with stress. Tara asked, "They send me away?" Cole shook his head. Not yet. I convinced them to let you stay in the human zone. But, under supervision, her tail twitched. Super what? He sighed. It means we have to live somewhere. Small, monitored, but together. She brightened a little. Together. He nodded. If you're okay with that? She stepped forward and gently touched his hand. If I have to choose between cold cage or small room, I choose your room, he chuckled. It's not exactly a room, it's a cabin. On a moon colony, rural. Quiet. Moon, he pointed at a small glowing sphere out the window. That one, she blinked. We live. On that? He nodded. If you want, she smiled slowly. Then I follow you again. 2 days later, they arrived at the moon colony, small metal homes. Thick walls, few people. Snow still fell here, but not like before. The air was thin, but breathable. The cabin Cole was given sat at the edge of a frozen lake, dot inside. 2 beds, 1 heater. A tiny kitchen, and a single sleeping bag, rolled in. The corner, Tara walked in, looked around, then pointed to the bag. That one, I remember. Cole laughed. We've got real beds now. She tilted her head. But I liked that bag. He shook his head. You're impossible, she smiled. I'm home. That night, she didn't ask him to sleep far away. She pulled the sleeping bag onto the floor beside the heater. Then she pointed again. Get in. Cole stared at her. Tey. Ray waited, and slowly. He smiled and zipped open the bag. The heater crackled softly outside the cabin. Snow fell in slow, lazy spirals. The frozen lake reflected the pale moonlight, still and silent. The stars above twinkled like tiny lanterns, watching, distant, quiet. Inside, Tara sat on the floor, wrapped in the old sleeping bag, her back against the heater. She was holding a mug of warm broth in both hands. Steam touched her face, and her ears twitched with every soft sound. Cole sat nearby, carving something from wood, a small piece round and smooth. He glanced at her. You've barely sipped that. She shrugged. It's not bad. Just thinking. He leaned forward. About what? Tara looked down. Us. All of this? He raised an eyebrow. You regret staying? She looked up, surprised. No, never. She placed the mug down. But it's strange. I was supposed to die in that crash. My people think I'm dead. And now I live on a human moon. I eat human food. I sleep in a human sleeping bag. Cole smiled. And talk to a human every day. She smirked. Yes, him too. They sat in silence for a while. A calm silence, not the heavy kind that hurts, just the quiet of 2 people who no longer needed to talk to feel close. Cole finished the carving and held it out to her. She blinked. What is it? A key handed her the small wooden shape. It was 2 figures side by side, one tall, one smaller. Sitting under a tree, Tara ran her fingers across the smooth edges. It's us. He nodded. Made it from one of the trees near the lake. She held it gently, like it might melt. I love it. You can keep it by your bed. She gave him a sideways glance. Our beds are 1 meter apart, he shrugged. Still counts. Later that night, she stood by the window, watching snowfall. Cole watched her from the table. She looked peaceful. Not like the scared girl he'd found in the wreck. She was different now. Braver, softer, still strong, still her. But warmer. She turned suddenly. Why didn't you take me to the embassy? He tilted his head. What? You could have given me to the alien diplomats. Let them handle me. File papers. Move me off your world. He looked at her for a long second, then said, Because I didn't want you to go. She walked toward him. Slowly, I asked you to get into the sleeping bag, she said softly. But you did more than that. She stopped right in front of him. You got into my life. Cole met her eyes. And you stayed in mine? That night, she didn't crawl into her bed. She pulled out the sleeping bag again. The same old bag that saved her life. She laid it down beside the heater. Then looked at him. "Come on," she said, smiling. "It's tradition now." He hesitated. "Tara." But she was already zipping it open. "I'm not cold," she said, "but I still want you close." Cole sat down beside her. "You..." "Sure," she nodded. "When you first gave me warmth, I felt safe. But now, I want more than just safety." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I want us. Not just surviving. Not just sharing space. I want to stay beside you. Always." Cole reached over and gently brushed a lock of her hair behind her ear. He whispered, "Then stay." They slid into the sleeping bag. It was a little tighter now, but neither of them cared. She rested her head on his shoulder. Her hand found his. Under the blanket. Fingers curled together, light and slow. And for the first time, they didn't fall asleep out of fear or exhaustion. They fell asleep smiling. Weeks later, the snow was gone. Spring had come to the moon colony. Tey Ra now had a translator chip. She could speak freely, even joke. She had planted a small alien flower garden behind the cabin. The neighbors had stopped staring. Some had even brought her gifts. But one thing never changed every night. She still pulled out the old sleeping bag. And every night, without fail, she whispered the same 3 words. "Get in, Cole." And every night, he did.